All right, friends, as you know, I've definitely been sharing my vegan diet with you all. Today is day 5 of this type of lifestyle, and I wanted to share with you the meal that I'm making, that I made. So I had actually pre-made some sauce, which is awesome. I did that yesterday. It did take a while. I dropped my phone. What's so funny is I'm totally a videographer and a video editor, but I really want to make sure these videos, I'm trying to overcome perfectionism. So I'm like, I'm just going to share the journey imperfectly, so that I can just be myself. And we will not put the phone there anymore. This time it's the charm. Stay right there, okay? Okay, I made pasta. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what's in it and how it's made. So, as you can see, this is in my NutriBullet mixer because I had cooked the sauce on the stovetop, but it still was chunky. So then I stuck it in the blender, and as you can see, it's still very thick. It's almost like a paste. But so I used some of the pasta water to lighten it up or make it saucy. It's so good. Let me tell you what's in it. I will make a video, by the way, of my 21 days of cooking. What did I make? How did I make it? And kind of reflect more on it holistically. But for now, I'm just sharing little bits and pieces along the way in case some of you are wondering if you want to be inspired to go vegan for a little bit or just wanting to share and invite you in my life. So I made a vegan pasta sauce. Let me tell you what was in it. On the stovetop, I started off by roasting some garlic and olive oil. That's it. Chop the garlic up. I've been watching on the videos, the aromatic. So it smells so good. Then I did half of an onion, stuck it in there too. Then I started chopping up my tomatoes. I used Roma tomatoes and the cherry tomatoes, just because I like cherry tomatoes better. But the Roma tomatoes have more mass, or you can create more sauce with it. It's juicier. But those cherry tomatoes to me are so sweet and so delicious. So chop those babies up. I'm roasting it all in the same pan with olive oil. Roasting all of that in there, letting it get a roasty look, a roasty flavor. So those tomatoes are not just basic red. They're having some of that crisp, darkness on it. It's kind of charring. And so as it's cooking, it's simmering, I got a hand mixer and started mixing all of it together, and it's chunky. Now I start adding basil. I started to add oregano. I started to add a little bit of garlic salt. I start adding a little bit of pepper, a little bit of basic normal salt. And it's cooking, but it's still really thick. So I added a little bit of water. I added more olive oil in there. I'm using the hand blender. It was still really thick. And I tasted it. I didn't have tomato paste. And I was like, I'm tasting it. It's not tasting all that good. But I realized that tomato paste is really simmered down. It's reduced tomato. It's so reduced that it becomes pasty, right? So I added more water and up the heat and let that sucker cook and reduce as I'm continuously stirring it and checking on it. As I tasted, I was like, I still feel like I could use more flavor. So I added red pepper flakes. I added just basic red pepper. I just seasoned it the way I wanted to season it. And then I decided I wanted to add an actual red pepper, you know how you eat red bell peppers? So I chopped that up and roasted on a separate pan with olive oil and more garlic. So all I'm doing, if you're hearing me, I'm just adding tomatoes, red pepper, onion, and garlic, and olive oil, and just cooking that baby up on a pan. Cooking it until it got to a consistency that was thicker, but it still was chunky. So I decided I'm gonna stick it in a blender. So I stuck it in my little magic bullet, clasped that on, mixed her up. And I was like, wow, it honestly kind of looks like a cold tomato basil soup. And it tastes like that. It's very good. This is a cold. It's so good. I can't even explain it. It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. I don't know if I'm going to buy pasta sauce anymore if I could just make this. It's so good. There's no dairy in it, okay? So those were all vegetable ingredients with some water, olive oil, and vegetables. Okay, so then I blended that puppy. I had to go to the gym, so I just stuck it in the fridge, not the freezer. And when I came back, I cooked my noodle. Just cook that noodle, what you normally cook with noodles, right? It was a chickpea noodle, so it's more protein in it. It's not just starchy. And then I heated up the sauce. So I heat up the sauce, heat up the noodles, cooked it on a pan, added fresh basil, and voila. It's just so good. For any of you who are my roommates in college, you know that the one thing I constantly butchered was pasta. Bethany and David know what I'm talking about, right, Bethany? Right, David? They're like, how can you butcher pasta? I don't know. Every time I'd pour the sauce, the noodles, I never liked the way it tasted, so I would start adding garlic, I would start adding seasonings, and then the sauce would get clumpy. I had olive oil. I just always ruined my sauces. But I was using their sauces, and I just never liked it enough. And so I always kind of ruined my pasta. And then if you ask the other people I lived with, I tried making my own Alfredo sauce, and I like burned the sauce and like curdled the oil, like I curdled the milk. It was gross. So I'm really proud that the vegan pasta sauce was really easy. Now what I can say is when I did reheat up the sauce with the noodle, it cooks way faster. So yeah, I kind of like burned some parts of the sauce. So I would do it a little differently, but it was very good. So if you're looking for a vegan recipe, this one does take this has been the longest prep of all the things I've made, I think. But this has been, once you have your sauce and your base, this was very easy to just warm up. So I think allocating maybe like an hour and a half or just like an hour to just work on the sauce alone. And then you'll have that prepped for when it's time for dinner or lunch. So I'm eating this for lunch the following day. I had it for dinner last night and I'm eating this for lunch. Yes, I am eating pasta 2 days in a row, but I don't feel guilty because this noodle has protein in it. Because it's made of legumes. It's made of a bean. It's made out of chickpeas. First of all, that's brilliant. That means the noodle that I'm ingesting, this is a protein-packed lunch. Because there's protein in my noodle. And then this is an all veggie-based sauce. So I'm eating vegetables in a hidden way. I'm eating protein in a hidden way. And I think I keep saying this, but my body is taking it in so much easier. Like my bowel movements are great. So that's a little bit more on day 5 of the vegan diet. What are your questions? What are your thoughts? Comment. I'll respond. I'm going to try to make a video every day to just show you at least one meal I'm up to or how it's going. And then I'll probably make one beautiful, well executed, produced video where you can kind of see some of the befores and afters and some of the recipes I did and things I learned within the 21 days. This is about something I've always wanted to do. Within this is about what am I learning as I'm doing this. It is some self-development. Like, yes, it's healthy physically, but what about emotionally, mentally? What am I learning as I try something different? Today is the first day I went to the Starbucks and tried something I've had with dairy or whipped cream as a dairy-free way, and it was fine. I actually didn't notice a difference too much at all. Maybe the discomfort of not having whipped cream on the top, but yeah, I did an oat milk substitute, and my drink tasted the same. As you can see, I'm eating this. It's so good. It's so good. And then I'm gonna let you go so I can finish the last of it. Love you. Be blessed. Remember today that you're valuable. God has a plan for you. If you have a pulse, you still have a purpose. And you woke up today. And that is a gift. Toodles.